Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Brian if you happen to be new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for checking out this video. Hopefully you get some really good information about the Bard in PvP, but not only just for controller. While this is a controller guide, that means I'm going to go over my layout and setup for you guys. Ultimately, this is hopefully give you guys some information about the Bard in PvP. Now, at the end of the day, I'm covering all the jobs for PvP. You can check the PvP playlist, but if you're more interested in PvE, I've got you covered over there as well, so be sure to be checking back more to the channel for PvE controller guides. Now, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask below. If you guys have any suggestions for videos that you'd like to see and how I can help you ease into the world of Final Fantasy XIV, sound off and let me know. I've been playing this game for 13 years, and I think this is the best PvP has ever been. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the world of the Bard and PvP and Final Fantasy XIV. All right, just like before in any of the other guides, sorry if you've seen those and this is just kind of rehash, I'm going to send you out to the Wolves Den Pier out here in Limsa Lamenza. This is where your UI is going to automatically shift into PvP mode. But speaking of UI, let's jump into our HUD and note that I would recommend hitting this little settings button and copying your base layout into something a little bit different. At the end of the day, there is a little bit difference from PvP, and you might want some different settings, but why not start with the exact same stuff that you've been using, and then that way you can modify your PvP settings if it makes that difference to you. Now, outside of that, I'd recommend clicking on duty, so that way you can see all like the specific duty items. In this case, Crystalline Conflict, you might want to change up your UI for those as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. You have full control over that. Then let's jump into our PvP profile. Either way, how you say it, I'll accept it. This is where we're gonna go over our skills, and then I'll talk about my layout, and we'll give some general tips and tricks for thinking about the Bard. But it's important as Bard, note that you're gonna do more damage the further you are away. They're really playing into that ranged fantasy. Up close and personal doesn't mean you're gonna be doing your most damage. You're cutting yourself in half, basically. So first and foremost, powerful shot. It's got a cast time. You can move while using it, but it's still it's a slower move overall. Now, you're going to see here a potency of 3,000, but if you're up to 15 yums away, that potency increases to 6,000. When you see potency in PvP, note that it's HP. Unless you're boosting it or they're mitigating it, that is basically the attack. So it's half. If you're at the proper range as a ranged, you're at 6,000 potency. Otherwise, you're at 3,000 potency for each shot. Note that this will reduce the recast time of Inferior Arrow by 5 seconds. So it's important to be using these. Apex Arrow. This delivers an attack with a potency of 6,000 to all enemies in a straight line before you. There is no distance reduction on this one. Grants Blast Arrow ready for 20 seconds. Grants Frontliner's March. Reduces your weapon skill cast time and recast time by 10%. And increases damage dealt by self and all party members within a radius of 30 ohms by 5%. So you want to make sure Apex Arrow is going out for those boosts. Then you got Silent Nocturne. Deals unexpected damage with a potency of 2,000. It's also going to apply Silence and grant Repertoire. Silence will last 3 seconds. Repertoire will last 10 seconds. And that will allow you to do powerful or pitch perfect in this regards. It upgrades powerful shot. Inferior Arrow, this is essentially where Power Shot helps and helps boost and reduce that charge time. Delivers an attack with a potency of 3,000. Consumes all charges upon execution, each charge adding an additional strike to the attack. So you can actually stack this up to 3 charges, and you can burn them into your enemies as needed. So that's where Powerful Shot can fill this up to really make it as maximum as possible. Now, and then you have Repelling Shot. This delivers an attack with a potency of 2,000 with a 10 on backstep and adds a bind to the target for 3 seconds. Warden's Payon will remove 1 status effect from party from self or target party member, and can be removed. That can be removed by Purify. Man, it would help if I learned how to read one of these days. If a status affliction cannot be removed, it creates a barrier that will nullify the next status affliction that can be removed by Purify, so it can prevent as well. Grants Warden's Grace upon successful removing or nullifying a status affliction. Reduces damage taken by 20% while increasing HP recovered by healing actions by 20%, and that will last for 5 seconds, and also will grant Repertoire, and that will last for 10 seconds. Then we got Final Fantasia. Grants Final Fantasia to self and heals Fantasia to nearby party members. Final Fantasia effect reduces weapon skill cast time and recast time by 10% while also increasing movement speed. This will last for 30 seconds. Hero's Fantasia effect increases damage dealt by 5% and gradually fills the limit gauge. So this is really good for boosting your party members from that support-driven role, and that will last for 30 seconds as well. Now, Pitch Perfect will deliver an attack with a potency of 4,000, but if you're at the proper range, it will do 8,000 damage the further you are, obviously, from the target with that maximum of 15 yalms. It will reduce the recast timer of Imperial Arrow because it is an upgrade from Powerful Shot, but the nice thing is it's an instant attack. You don't have to worry about moving. Then you have Blast Arrow, delivers an attack with a potency of 8,000 to all enemies in a straight line before you, grants Frontliner's Forte, reduces your weapon skill cast time and recast time by 10%, and increases damage dealt to self and party members with a radius of 30 yalms by 5%. Then you go to your standard issue elixir. This is going to heal you up to full. It's got a cast time of 4.5 seconds and a recast time of 5 seconds. It's got Recuperate. This is your big heal. It's going to heal you as you on the move. Highly recommend you use this. Purify gets you out of stun locks and CC control, so it's going to remove all those different status effects that apply to you. Guard is going to reduce incoming damage taken, so if you're being focused, Guard is a really good choice to help prevent you from really getting all that, reduces 90% of damage. So that's what it is. And then you have Sprint, which will allow you to move faster until you do an action. Now, I have my Sprint as a kind of just a heads up, macroed under the gamepad settings, and then button config, execute macro 99. That's a right click stick. And then so if I go into my macros, and then I go into my macro 99, you can see here PvP action sprint. That's how you will do it. I added it here for me, but that's how you do PvP actions. So if you want to see some other PvP actions, or even the micro, if you want to set your icon to a PvP action, micro icon, whatever the name is, and then space PvP action. So again, that's PvP action for sprint, and that is how I use that as a part of that click and that section. All right, so now let's talk about my placement of my skills. Now, typically on the left cross hotbar and the right cross hotbar, I tend to kind of have this set up pretty similarly across all jobs. Then I have the expanded cross hotbar we'll go into, and the double cross hotbar a little bit here. So A, B, X, and Y, this is essentially where I like to be able to move and use abilities. So you can see here I've got Powerful Shot, which I can fire off. You see it's got that cast time. I can still move and use Powerful Shot. And you can see here as I get further back, it's going to do more and more damage up to the right distance, in this case at that 6,000. If I'm up close and personal, you can see that listed right here. At a little bit at 3,000. I think if 3,000 is right when you're on top of them, and then it just kind of scales the further back that you get. So then, and also just like as a pro tip from targeting, I use left bumper and right bumper to switch targets. Sometimes it's a little bit more efficient to hold down the left bumper and actually up and down based off of your enemy list, but that is how it is. I'll talk more about that if you guys need in another video. But then I've got Apex Arrow, so this is going to allow me to get that boost and reduce those cool times. So you now see those buffs up here, and then you see that I've got the extra blast arrow ready to rock and roll and follow that up with it. Recuperate to heal as I need to move, and kind of you can see how it burns down your MP, and so you can use your standard issue elixir to get that back up. And then I got Ethereal Arrow, so if I want to fire that all off, I can do so right there. And now they're all on cooldown, so I can go ahead and fire this and fill this back up. Now, Imperial Arrow is going to be excellent when obviously it is at its maximum of 3 charges to really try to do that finishing off move. But if you need it, you can use it whenever you need. Now, remember, there is no distance for it. Then you got Silent Nocturne on the D-pad, which then you can see how that puts that right into Pitch Perfect. You can also get to it from the expanded here on the A, B, X, and Y for expanded. Same thing for the Repelling Shot. And same thing for Wonder's Payon, unless you want to target somebody else or a party member. And then you can see here I also have my Limit Break here, but I also have Limit Break on the D-pad. Same thing with Standard Issue Elixir and Guard. So on the expanded, you can see here I can fire off the Limit Break, which isn't going to hurt anybody. It's generally boosting your overall damage, your team's damage and output, and more. I think it actually is your team's damage, which is really where that is going to come into play, and also help fill up their Limit Break gauge much faster overall. On the left hand side, I've got Hello and Good Match, my Limit Break, so I can communicate what percentage I am at for my team, attacking target, retreat, Purify, Standard Issue Elixir, and Guard. And then here on the expanded, I've got Purify, Repelling Shot, Standard Issue Elixir, and Guard, just in case I need to use it and move it. So what I end up liking to do, especially on any kind of casters, I love that I can silence people and be able to kind of follow it up with Pitch Perfect my inferior arrows. But before I like to do any of that, I want to make sure I've got any kind of damage boost that I can on myself. So my typical opener ends up being like Apex Arrow, and then I'm going to fire off my powerful shots, ideally at the right distance. And if I've got essentially 3 stacks of Imperial Arrow, what it ends up probably looking like this. And that ends up being my combo to try to output as much damage onto the target as absolutely possible in a burst window. Anyway, guys, that is it for this video. Hopefully you got something good out of it. Hopefully you've now got a lot more that you can work with on the Bard. And also, I'm looking forward to releasing more of these videos for you guys. Like, favorite, subscribe, and share if you feel like I earn it here on the channel. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better.